Hello and welcome back to another vlog. My name is SAJJAD IMTIAZ and today I've come to Washington Crossing Historic Park. I am in Pennsylvania right now. This is the western side of the historic park or Washington Crossing where I am at right now. And the parking is on the right side of the road and I just have to cross the road and go to the left side, literally by the bank of Delaware River. So first make sure there is nobody coming, which is a good thing. The road is empty. And then I'm gonna go to the visitor center, go and see from inside. Then they have some historical buildings here, and once I'm done here, I'm gonna go use the Washington Crossing Bridge, which is right there, and then go to the New Jersey side on the eastern side of Delaware River and see Ferry House, which is the only architecture that was there when George Washington and his army crossed Delaware River, used ferries to cross. But we're gonna talk about all that once we get to the buildings that are like literally just a few steps away. I don't know the exact mileage or exact length between me and the houses, but the visitor center is right here. But before I go to the visitor center, I think they have a viewpoint right here. You can stand here, just look at the Delaware River Canal and look at the Delaware River. I should have gone the other way. Oh, there are steps there, but it's too late now, so I'm running down now. Okay, so I've made it without falling, so that was fun. But it's dry right now. I think it's because of the weather. So this is the canal, and over there you have Delaware River. And just imagine back in 1776 on the night of Christmas, between December 25 and 26, this river was crossed by General George Washington and his army because they were here. They were stuck for quite a bit. The weather was getting extreme, and Trenton is only 8 miles from here, to which they traveled to. They were stuck. They had a major defeat in Fort Lee, and then after that, the army was scattered. Before this, before the Battle of Trenton, they had major losses, or some wars were, or some fights were considered draw. So they just call it not quit, but they just part ways, and then waited for another day. But when they were here, it was a make or break point for the army, because if, let's say, George Washington had never crossed the river, then British had the upper hand. They were fighting. Basically, they had more artillery, better weapons, and they literally have an army. But Continental Army was basically formed a part of militia. It was formed with militia, and then you have different people fighting under the command of George Washington. There was not a proper American army at the time. And then you have the founding fathers who are in Philly, which is not so far from here either. But yeah, this war, the war that happened here was definitely a major milestone for the Continental or Revolutionary War, because again, if they lost here, they would have been executed, especially the generals. But again, the fate had something else decided for the Continental Army, and when they crossed, actually that time it was an extreme weather. The bridge, the river was very extreme because of the weather. The currents were extreme, I would say, not the river. So they used ropes and some ferries to go across. So literally where we're seeing the bridge right now, that's where they landed on the eastern side. This is the western side, and then there's the Ferry House, which is on the other side, eastern side, but I'm gonna go there later. And there's the Bowman Hill Tower. Basically, Bowman Hill was used by General George Washington to keep an eye on the British Army, to see, because that was the high point in this area. So let's just go to the visitor center now. We're gonna see the area first, and then go to the Ferry House, which is on the other side, eastern side of the river. And then I'm gonna go towards the Bowman Hill, and if I don't fall from this hill, let's see. Alright, so here comes the visitor center. But before I go in, I just want to let you know this area is unincorporated, if that's the right word. Basically, this area is not governed by the local municipality, and they have a cannon to welcome us. here is a bust of Thomas Paine, and over here it says that these are the times that prime men sold the summer soldier and the sunshine patriot will in this crisis shrink from the service of his country, but that stands in now. But he that stands in now deserves the love and thanks of man and woman. Tyranny like hell is not easily conquered. And here is a cannon made in France for Frederick the Great of Prussia in 1745. It has been surcharged US during the revolution to mark the gun as American property. So let's just go in. Before I go in, there is a theater here, and back there you can see the picture or the painting of George Washington commanding the Continental Army while crossing the river. So let's go. And here is a gift from Lafayette to the Continental Army. It was used during the Battle of Yorktown in 1781, and after the war was fired again to salute him when he visited Harrisburg in 1824. I'm just going to the exhibit gallery right now. I actually got myself a magnet, but here goes the gallery or the exhibit, and then I'm gonna go out, then go to the Jersey side, and then go to the bowman side. So here we have an example of the tents which were placed during the time of Revolutionary War, especially in this area. And these were not the only tents that were used. Actually, there's a photograph nearby. It says that photograph courtesy 3rd New Jersey Regiment, and it says tents were not the only option for camping soldiers. Huts were built for lengthy winter encampment, while brush shelters, that's a picture of brush shelter, were used when building supplies were limited, and they were generally about 12 by 15 or 16 feet square, all uniformly of the same dimension and Martin narrative of revolutionary soldier. So these were kind of tents that were used basically by the Revolutionary Army. So along the wall they just have the information that following battlefield defeat in New York, the Continental Army retreated south through New Jersey. Supplies and morale were low. American soldiers were poorly clothed and near starving. About a third of the soldiers were sick or unfit for the duty, and the enlistment for many veteran troops were set to expire on December 31st. When the army arrived at the Delaware River, soldiers collected the boats on the New Jersey side and brought them across to Pennsylvania, stopping the British pursuit. However, General Washington remained concerned that if the river froze, the British could simply walk across the Delaware. He positioned troops to protect all major crossing points from Bristol to Corrals Ferry, which is in New Hope. With the enlistment of many men due to end, Washington pleaded for longer enrollment period for troops. He also required replacements for the clothing, tents, blankets, and other items left behind during the retreat from New York. Many people in Bucks County were not supporters of the army and its mission. Some farmers and millers refused to do business with the army. Angry and frustrated, Washington ordered his officers to seize the grain and flour. So desperate for reinforcement, Washington ordered several generals to march their men to Pennsylvania as quickly as possible. Not all of the generals followed his order. In the meantime, he turned to the Pennsylvania Council of Safety to help raise volunteers from all corners of Commonwealth. Time was running out. Intelligence received on December 21 suggested the British General Howe planned to attack Philadelphia before spring. Washington had to strike quickly and boldly. His daring plan was to cross the Delaware River on Christmas night under the cover of darkness and launch a surprise attack on the enemy at Trenton before dusk. The secret password for the night was victory or death. Right next to the tents we have stoveplate fragments, and it was basically from 1770, and it says that cast possibly made by Cole Brookdale Furnace, Berks County, Pennsylvania, Thomas Rutter and Samuel Rhodes, recovered from archaeological investigation at the site of Robert Thompson 18th century mill. Thompson 1804 probate inventory notes the presence of a 10-plate stove in the mill. So it is from 1770. And what do we have here? So muskets like these were used in the Revolutionary War, and I think this is to carry the bullets, I guess. Okay, I think they have some information. So oh no, that's a lantern, and this is the spur. My bad. And here we have a bayonet and musket shovel, and here it just explains how the musket works, so that's pretty cool. Actually, they have a sitting area here, so you can sit and enjoy the view. I think I should do that for a bit. While I'm enjoying the view, might as well get some chocolate which I got from here. So this is American Heritage chocolate. Let's see how it is. Pretty hard. Almost took my teeth. So I guess it's more than enough time I spent here. Chocolate was decent, it's not so great, but let's see. So here we have the drag queue, and fed boat hook, and these were the dressed. What we have, so this is a snuff box, cannonball, and then musket, flintlock, spur, signet of Captain Henry Prestes, spectacles, and case. This is a painting of Battle of Princeton, George Washington after the Battle of Princeton. So this bed is an example of the beds that was used in hospitals during that time. Obviously these are not time original, but you can see the utensils used by the medical doctors. They definitely oh man, they have a saw there to, it's not something to laugh about, but just look at the saw. I've seen this one being used to cut wood, and they were using it for medical treatment. It's not funny, but it's definitely, thank God, we were, or I was born in this time, otherwise it would have been painful. And they had leeches there. Oh man, you can see a part of leeches. And here is the tombstone, but before I go there, this is a picture of Captain William Washington. He was a cousin of George Washington. He recovered from the wounds suffered in Battle of Long Island and recovered sufficiently to join the Continental forces in the Battle of Trenton and on Christmas night. And Captain Moore, suffering from camp fever, did not fare as well, died and was buried on the property. So this is the tombstone of Captain Moore. This was from March 6th, 1777, and it is by Alexander Hamilton. Captain Lieutenant James Moore died the 25th of December after a short but excruciating fit of illness. And this is his tombstone. So you can actually see the words written on it. But let's go from here. So here is a map of plan of the operations of General Washington against the King troop in New Jersey from the 26th December 1776 to 3rd January 1777, 6 miles. So this is Trenton, and where are we? Damn. So this is where we at right now, and then this is like, these are the roads they took. And yeah, there is a property over here which is which was like original to that time, but now obviously there are more paved road or modern roads, but back then obviously there were no proper roads there. But these were the roads used by the Continental Army. Alright, so time to go out and see some of the houses they have here. But here is an example of crossing the Delaware River. So let's go. All right, so that's where I was sitting. But again, as I explained earlier, this area was the last hope. Continental Army was down on morale. Their contracts were expiring because again it wasn't a proper army. So this is the point from where they started crossing the Delaware River and used the night as a shield to attack the army, British army, because they had the Hessian soldiers. Basically they were slaves that were brought by the British to fight in the battle. And basically, you know, like George Washington didn't have any hope that time. Like it was very tough, obviously because of weather. Enlistments were expiring. He needed more men. He needed more supplies for the fight. He needed basically everything that can turn the phase of history. But unfortunately, those weren't the options available to him. So he decided to take the bold step. Even though they brought in the ships or the ferries from New Jersey side to Pennsylvania, but still George Washington feared that the river might freeze and they can cross, walk across ice and just, take over. That's the point where the ferries landed. So they started from there, and basically, that's the marking point. But yeah, so from there all the way down. So they used the river current for their advantage, and the rest is history. Let's see whose house this was. But I think we can go in the garden and then maybe come back and get some information on it. But you can see they are working on maintaining it, which is pretty nice, because past couple times I've been here and this place was not looking good. But finally they did the work. It looks amazing, especially the view of bridge from here. So that's a good thing to know. You have this house here. Again, I'm just gonna see the buildings, talk about what they are, and then we're gonna head to New Jersey first. So there is Ferry House on the other side of the river, so we're gonna go there and then go to the Bowman's Hill Tower, which is the last stop for the day. So hopefully everything comes together and we make it there. But I think this is how they used to store water. Apparently these houses were built in 1800s and they were not here during the time, so which is, I think, a little bummer, but hey, they're still old. So these houses, or the blacksmith shop, I think they were built in the mid to late 1800s, and when George Washington's armies were here, they just stayed on the land. There was nothing here. So this is a blacksmith shop. Again, these buildings stay closed, and you can see some information here. It was between 1828 to 1830, and it stood until 1922, built in 1976. On special occasions they do open them for tour, but you have to keep an eye for that. Otherwise touring inside the houses is not allowed. But maybe we can sneak in through the window. You can see there are tables there. There is some furniture there, but again, we cannot go in. I mean, we can look inside. You can see there are some paints. Maybe it's a painter's house. Well, this is the main entrance, but that's, I think, where the main attraction is. So let's see. And actually they have a boat outside as well, so maybe we go and take a closer look. So victory or death, that was the password used by the Continental Army. So here we have a cannon and some boats, and the large flat boats are kind of like, basically they're the replicas of the boats used by, or the ferries basically used by the Continental Army to cross the Delaware River. They build they build wooden planks on top of them to take the cannon across. So these boats played an important role in the crossing of Delaware River, basically on December 25, 1776. These boats are first of all called Durham boats, and these were used to cross the Delaware River. Again, you have an image of General Washington on top of one. Unfortunately, these are not original of the time, but yeah, it's amazing to see that, like there was something like this available. They were, I think, cargo boats, and then these were used to carry over cannons. So that's that. I think there's one boat on the other side as well. Before I go to the boat, let's see what do we have here. So Washington crossing and march to Trenton. Again, they crossed over. This is the ferry house, that's where I'm gonna go. Went to the Bear Tavern, and then the Bear Tavern road towards Trenton. So this is the map, of like how they attacked. They attacked from two sides, basically, actually 1 2 3 4 and then 5 sides. Actually, it was a big attack. So they just crossed from here, Bear Tavern, all the way down, took the dividing road, and then that was it. And then these are the Hessians outpost, Hessian sentry, you can see, and then road circa 1776. That was Trenton under British rule, and these were the weapons used by the Continental Army. Again, if they lost this war, it would have been an end to the American Revolution, because they lost all the major battles before that. So I think there's a house. Before I go there, I need to see the boat up close. And actually there's a well over there which is covered. So let's see. This is the boat. This is actually a replica of the boat that was used. And maybe I can go from the top. So this was it. I mean, obviously the length is not the same. The original boats were a little larger. They were a little wider, and they were used to take the army and the cannons across. Again, I'm repeating myself, but that's the history of this land. And they have some barrels here, but apparently there's a well in there which is now covered and closed. But back in the time, this was used to take water out, and they locked it. So let's go around and see what's on the other side. It is not right for them to not have the signs here. I think they should put the signs here for anybody to come and see like what the building was, because you have the buildings here. Again, you have the information of the area, what happened here, but you don't know who used to live here. I could have parked here, but I didn't, because I don't want to take a chance. That's why I parked in the parking lot back there, made for the visitors. Again, I'm gonna go to the ferry's house, but I'm gonna drive there. I'm not gonna walk there, but I'm just gonna go to the bridge and check out the scenery of Delaware River. Hopefully it's nice, so we can literally walk across the bridge, but I'm not doing that today. I'm just here to see the scenery, that's all. And you cannot ride your bikes. That's why people over there, they're walking with the bikes. But here is the Delaware River. Look at the beauty of it. It's amazing. Look at that. Now, I've crossed a little bit of it. I'm going back. By the way, this whole area is in Upper Makefield Township. I just saw the sign, so I was like, no, why not? And this is Mahlon K. Taylor House. This home was built in circa 1817 for one of the founders of Taylorsville, now known as Washington Crossing. It shows the status and prosperity of the Taylor family in the community. So this is the house owned by the founders of Taylorsville. And whose house is this? Or that? Or that? Again, they did not even bother to put some boards here. I don't know how they gave us the information for that one. But we have lamppost here. So this is it. This is Washington Crossing area, or Taylorsville in the past, and that's nice. I just wish that they give the tours from the house. Alright, so now I am heading back to my car to go to the ferry house, and then I'll go to the Bowman's Hill Tower. I just have to cross this road again, and yeah, it's not so busy right now. So now I am at the New Jersey side of Delaware crossing. Basically, this is John Ferry's house, which is circa 1740. It is believed to be the house from where George Washington marched towards the Trenton area, and there is actually a road nearby from which they travel towards Trenton. But before we go in and take a look from inside, there is a barn nearby. Let me just zoom in. So this barn is also believed to be of the same time period, but the only thing about this barn is that this one is only open on special occasions, but it can be used as the restroom. So I'm definitely gonna use that today. But I'm gonna go in and I'll talk about the history of this area. So let's see, because the reason I'm trying to go in quickly, because this area, this house have a timing. So it is important to be here on time, because again there's a timing for the house. I think this is the outhouse, and this is the kitchen garden. So let's start from the kitchen garden and then we'll go in. But this property used to be, I think, 400 some acres back in the time when George Washington crossed. Delaware River is on that side, and you're seeing there's a road nearby. That's why we are hearing all the sirens. So I don't know how the sound is, but here we have a clock, I guess. So here it says that the garden is the gift of General Society, daughter of the Revolution, in 1776 to 1926. And right now you can see, I think it's 11. So this is the old way of seeing time. So yeah, that's pretty unique. I haven't seen any of those in a while. But yeah, this is the garden here, and entrance is around the front. So this is the Ferry house. I hope everything is okay, because the sirens just started going off. I think I crossed the Delaware at the wrong time, but let's see. The entrance must be over here, I guess. So there's two doors, but we're using this one. John Ferry house, and here's the timing. So let's go in. Alright, so this is the inside of the Ferry house. What I've come to know is that these things we have over here, especially the bigger ones, are basically donated by people living in the neighborhood. And the apples here, these were the only types of apples you can find at that time. And apparently people who used to live here, they used to have trees around, apple orchards, and then these were being sold to make some money. And so there's the Baldwin apple, Esophagus, Spitzenberg, Ashmed's kernel. So these were the type of apples that were available at the time. Again, this is a what do you call, 2-in-1 chair. So if you fold it, again I'm not gonna touch it, but if you fold it, becomes a table, and otherwise you can sit on it. And this right here is the vital part of the tour. So it says that when the George Washington's army crossed over Delaware through ferries, ferries were basically, as I showed over there, but they used the method. They basically put a rope across and then use pulleys, and then on top of the ships, basically they were like big canoes. They created these racks, put their horses and their cannons, and then they basically came across Delaware. They came across in a way so they don't go against the current. They use the current for their advantage. But then this was how they did it. And then it says that when they came here, obviously it was cold, and General Washington might have stood here, and his generals as well, because that time there was no American army. It was a continental army, so more like a militia. So they stood here. This place was used to cook. You have water here, you have all the utensils you need. This was the pantry used to store stuff, or just maybe do something. This is here for the public to see. I think this is how you make the floor. So yeah, this is pretty amazing, and that's how you make the threads, I guess. And try your hand at grinding buckwheat. I think this is the grinding buckwheat, because I don't know if we can touch that. I don't want to touch it. I don't want to break it, but apparently this house stood the test of time. It was here when America wasn't born, and this was the house or the location from where basically they marched towards Trenton. There's a roadway next to the house, so I'm gonna show you that as well, from where they marched to Trenton. And then Hessians, I think that's what they're called if I'm not wrong, but they fight the Hessian armies and the British armies because but there was like more Hessians there. Hessians was like kind of like a slave army, so they fought them off. Again, the Continental Army had 18 cannons and they only had 6, so it was like a 18 to 6 battle. So that's how they won. And that's a bed warmer right there, and they have oil there. I don't know what they're doing with the oil, but this is how the bed chambers would be. And they have 2 upstairs, so I'll go to the next room. I'll show you that. There's a parlor apparently on the other side, so I'll go there and show you the parlor. And this is also a cabinet, but yeah, this is it. So I mean obviously there's a second floor. I'm gonna go to the parlor and go show the second floor as well. But this was the interior of the house that was here, or part of the property, 498 acres. The people who used to live here, or the property owner, they had 498 acres of the land. And so let me just go out, go in the next room and talk, I'll show you guys what's there, and then go to the second floor. And then once we're done, I'll go out and show you the road they took. Alright, so this is a parlor basically, or they have maps here, the Middle British colonies. And here we have another table. So these things, as I said earlier, were not original to the house, but they are basically of the same time period. So you have a spear, a shotgun, but the structure is from that time period, so which is amazing. You have a fire pit. That's private, so I'm not going in. So let's just go up and see. Alright, so these are the bed chambers. So apparently the bed chambers that were here before, they were 2 different rooms. Now they have basically divided them up or made partitions in between, but originally there were like two rooms only. But many years after the Revolutionary War, after the Continental Army came and left, when they decided to preserve this house, first of all, look at the height here. It's not so tall, the roof, but yeah, so then they basically made these rooms to accommodate the caretakers here. But initially there was only 2 different rooms, and there was like a big hallway on the sides. So I don't know, maybe they shut this place down. Maybe this is the original partition, and that could have been a room, and this could have been a room that goes all the way to the back. But you can see the beds here. There's a treasure chest. I don't know if I can open that up. Then we have General George Washington's picture here. Again, a lot of stuff for private stuff. Alright, so this is the map of New Jersey. Here we have the Long Island area, Staten Island. This is the Woodbridge area. But it is amazing that how they have preserved this old map. Let's see how old it is. Let me see if there is a time period here. I mean, you can tell because over here it says the province of New Jersey, not the state, but the province, and it says East and West, commonly called the Jerseys. So basically there were 2 Jerseys. There was an East Jersey and there was a West Jersey. There were 2 different states or provinces, and then they combined them and made them one. So I don't know, there should have been a borderline from where they divided the state into half, but apparently there isn't any. So basically this was like 2 different states. Well, that's something new to, I already knew, but it's good to see it on the map because right here it says the province of New Jersey. One thing I almost missed was these shoes. I think these are also old. They're made of wood. Before I head down, and I think that's the chamber pot. I guess that's where you basically go for number one or not number two, but for piss. Basically you pee in there, and yeah, like when in the morning time you basically throw it outside, because again in cold weather nobody wants to leave the bed, especially like we are already cozy and all warmed up. There's a horn there, so I think now I should head down finally. I just came out of the ferry house, and again this place is 498 acres. This place used to be 498 acres of property, but this place right here was where George Washington would have been standing and looking at the armies getting off ferries, because they followed the current. So they would have basically stretched a rope from that portion, the other side, basically the Pennsylvania side of the river, of the Delaware River, and then basically the ferries come down right where the bridge is, and that was called the ferry landing. And it is believed that the armies came up this road right here. So this was the farm road that was used to bring supplies to the farm, and the road goes around, so I can see the other side of the road as well. So they have actually a marking there. I'll just go there in a bit. But there's another belief that many people think it might not be the road that the Continental Army took, because there's a Washington and Pennington Road, Washington Crossing and Pennington Road, which is like on the other side of this area. So that is believed to be the road that the Continental Army took towards Trenton, and then they split into two different roads, basically attacked Trenton from two different sides, and that's how they took over Trenton and got the victory, which was much needed at the time. But right where the bridge is, that's where the ferries landed. That's the exact location of I would say the victory region, I would say, because if they hadn't landed there, then this place wouldn't have existed. But again, I think now I should follow this historic road back towards the parking lot, so I can go around and see where it turns. Obviously I'm not gonna walk all the way to Trenton. It's about 8 miles, so let's see. This lamp is supposed to be of the time period it used to light up the road, so let's see. I'm just going back to the parking lot, not to the parking lot, but I have to cross the parking lot and go to the other side, basically close to the barn, to see the Continental Road or Farm Road. Basically I'm walking on Farm Road right now, but it was renamed as Continental Road, which is right there, right behind the fences. Apparently the Farm Road or the Continental Lane used to go from there through the parking lot, and this was the historic road, which is believed to be the road on which the Washington Army began its march to Trenton on December 26, 1776. So I'm literally standing from where the victory began, because if they hadn't landed here, it would have been a loss. It would have been chaotic, because again there was basically, before this there was no victory. Before the War of Trenton, I would say, there was no victory for the General Washington, and if they had lost this war, then because there wasn't an army, so people would have gone back to their houses. Maybe the founding fathers would have been hanged, or they were charged for for terrorism, or I don't know, whatever the law of that time was, because again they were fighting against the king. They were fighting the supreme power at the time, British Army, which was ruling America, India, basically major part of the world was ruled by British Army, and they were here to win and rule. But again, this was the road to victory, so I'm just gonna walk on it for a bit, just to have that feeling, just to follow the footstep of founding father of America and see, get some inspiration maybe, right? And it says, preserve the plant life. Picking or injuring flowers, ferns, shrubs or trees is unfair to others and is forbidden. Leave the natural beauty unspoiled. So obviously I'm not doing anything to the natural beauty, but you can see the road goes all around. So you have the road that you come into the park on that side, and this is the road to go out. But this is the road that was here almost 300 years ago. It's not 300 years yet, but yeah, this was the road that was here, from which, you know, armies, the Continental Army went to Trenton. So I think this is the right point. I just want to come to the leaves, have some, you know, the walking of the on the leaves feeling, because I like the sound of it. But now I'm gonna go from here to Bowman's Tower, back to Pennsylvania, through the bridge, which at one point was the ferry landing. That's where the ferries landed, and then go to the Bowman's Tower, which is about like 4 or 5 miles from here. So let's see. I'm just gonna go and drive back there. So hopefully, you know, like, I mean, I make there on time, because again, this whole area have a time period. Like, I mean, you have to check the day you're coming, so you don't miss the reserved timing. So I'm just gonna go back, go to the Bowman's Tower. I think they close at 4, so hopefully I make it on time. So I'm finally at the Bowman's Hill. This was the last part of Washington Crossing Park, I would say, because back in the time this hill was used to keep an eye on British Army that was in Trenton, just to keep an eye on their movement. But this tower was built years later, and it is now open for the public. It was built in 1776, but when, you know, like George Washington was here, or when the Continental Army was here, this tower wasn't here. So they just used this hill to keep an eye on the surrounding area. From here you can have a good view of the valley under. But let's go to the top of the hill. Again, back during the time of Revolutionary War, this hill was used to keep an eye on the British Army. Trenton is on that side. I got the ticket to climb the tower. The ticket is like $7, and the only thing you get is this. I climbed the Bowman's Hill Tower. So let's go and see. Again, you can sit there and have a good view. Waiting for them, and let's go in. Again, the elevator is out of service, so I have to walk up. What do they have here? So here let's just talk about the tower. Basically that it was made to commemorate the crossing of Delaware River, because this was the hill, as I said again, this was part of the Washington crossing, this whole area. And now I am going up. This is the only part I hate about towers. They have too many stairs. Apparently everybody uses a sticker to mark, I guess, but I'm not gonna use mine here. I'm gonna keep mine, so I have a memory at home. So I think this is a pit stop. They do have elevator, but it's not working. So from here the narrow stairs start, so I have to basically go literally next to the wall. And I'm at the top. This is it. It's pretty windy up here. I don't know how clear the sound is, but apparently this location, not the tower, but this location was used by George Washington to keep an eye on the coming British Army from that side, because that's where the Trenton is, literally around the Delaware River. But this is the view we get. Let's go behind the bars. So this is a better view we have. So this is it. This is the view you get, especially with the fall foliage. It looks pretty amazing. But back when the Continental Army was here, this wasn't the case. They weren't here for the scenery. They were here to keep an eye on the British. So I think I should head down now, because again the wind is pretty strong up here, so I don't want to stay here because my hair are all messed up. But it's definitely fun. It's a good view. We have the luxury to enjoy the view, but back in the time there was no luxury. Obviously there was British Army right over there somewhere, like I don't know where is Trenton. I can see a city there, but I don't know if that's Trenton or not. I'm gonna zoom in to show. And yeah, so they were just keeping an eye on the coming British Army. I think that's where the Trenton is, if I can zoom in a little better. So somewhere like right there, it looks like a city. Again, it's a tough job, and I think I should head back now. Alright, time to head down now. So again, you can see the stairs are pretty narrow, so the hairs are all messed up. It's a narrow steps. I just have to be very careful with this. So let's see how it gets. It's a very tiny space. Oh man, there's a lot of people down there waiting to get up. You can see it's pretty busy, so we're gonna have a traffic jam here. So before that happens, let's go. So finally I am back on the hill, on the ground from the tower. That's where I was, but it was a great experience. Definitely the view is pretty amazing from the top, but you can imagine back during 1776, I think that's when they crossed. You're up here during the winter time. It was pretty chilly, it was pretty windy, the weather was pretty bad because there's snow and all, so it was severe weather conditions. And you have to keep an eye on the British Army that was in Trenton, because if you lose from this area, there is no going back. Literally, it was a big risk. George Washington took it, and we are enjoying the fruit of their efforts. Basically, if they haven't won the war, it would have been a different story. It would be still under British rule, I guess, but that wasn't the case. It just shows that, if I talk about the moral or what lesson I got from it, is that just perseverance, just aim for what you want and go for it. Never take defeat as the last option, or just accept your defeat. Just keep fighting, and eventually you'll achieve what you're wishing for or what you're aiming for. Maybe you lose in the beginning, but then in the end there's victory. So that's what you get from it, because again, there was a pushback from Fort Lee. There was major losses during the fights in New Jersey, or the battles in New Jersey. There's maybe one or two battles that were won, but they were not even major victories. So here, the enlistment was getting over. The weather was severe. They were running out of their resources. The farmers or the local people, they were revolting against George Washington. They don't want the Revolutionary Army in the area. They wanted to be with the British people, and everything was going against. Anything that can go wrong went wrong, but they pushed through. They got it. So I guess that's it for today. Again, I don't want the video to end on a pretty preachy note, but that's where it is. So I hope you guys enjoyed it. I went to the Washington crossing, the actual crossing location. They went to the Jersey location, the ferry house, and this is the last part of this, part of the trilogy. So I hope you guys enjoyed it, and if you did, make sure you like the video, share it, subscribe to the channel if you haven't so, and see you guys in my next video. Until then, take care. Thank you very much.